So, to carry on a bit more of my history, um, when I was 6 and went into care, um, it was because my auntie collapsed and had a blood clot on her brain, and we was lucky enough to get put into care. So we moved to a place called Basildon in Essex, and moved to a convent um, where it was a predominantly white area. I had lots of fights and that sort of thing in school. Um, it was quite sort of countryside when I first moved there. It's a bit more built up and everything now. It's changed quite a lot. Um, but yeah, when I was 8, I think I started smoking. I think I found some tobacco and had my first smoke when I was 8. And I used to, the staff in the children's home smoked, and I used to take like they'd leave the cigarette in the ashtray, and I would take and sneak a quick puff of their cigarettes. Um, yeah, I can remember when I was 11, we moved away, which was lucky because the kids in my area, in that area, they started glue sniffing. It's an area where there's a lot of people that haven't got much to do or didn't have much to do back in them days. There wasn't so many youth clubs or anything like that, so there wasn't much for kids to do. Um, and we used to go up the park and drink and put holes in. We used to get cider and put holes in the lid to get sort of, get drunk on cider. Drinking, underage drinking anyway, is quite bad for you, obviously. Um, but that was my memories of that age. I think when we moved to Southend, which is I think about 20 miles away from Basildon, it was a much better environment because it wasn't so closed. There's a beach near to go to. There's a big massive park opposite to where we moved to, and it wasn't living with nuns because obviously the first children's home, I was living with nuns at the back of the church in a convent. So yeah, it was challenging to say the least. Obviously, coming from a religious background as well, but this was a Catholic church when I was Protestant. Um, but yes, so I've always had religion in my life, but I didn't really have much understanding of it because my auntie was very religious and she used to beat us so badly that I couldn't understand how could you be so religious and beat kids. But sometimes it can be righteous beatings, or they feel that they're being righteous, and God says I think there's a saying, don't spare the rod, or something like, I can't remember the saying. But yeah, it was quite a nice experience to get away from that situation and to be in a children's home where you're cared for by adults that is not your parents, and they was very loving, and it was nice to be around lots of other children that was in the children's home as well. So there was lots of fun experiences. We used to steal biscuits from the larder downstairs, like sneak down in the night time and open up the larder and take out like biscuits and sneak them upstairs, and all the sort of stuff that kids do. It was like an adventure. It was very exciting. We played out so much back in those days. It was so nice because children got to play out all the time. We was out most of the day. If we could get out, it was fantastic. With so many kids around and so much to do, like outside. Compared to nowadays, when it's kids don't really get to play out as such. They're on their computers and quite shut off from interaction, where it was such a traumatic situation, not being around your parents and being reliant on these other adults that are getting paid to look after you, and obviously the nuns as well. But yes, we was forced to go church and that sort of thing, which I think it should be a choice. If you want to choose religion or you want to choose to do that sort of thing, I don't think you should be forced into something under, without your will or choice in saying, I want to do that, or that's the kind of direction I want to go in. But yeah, when you have no choice, you have no choice. So, but it was quite fun times in the children's home. The only difficulties I would say was the racism in schools, and when you came out of school as well, it was a different kind of environment when there was more racism and it was more acceptable. The days of Jim Davidson and people like that had all the different kind of race jokes and that kind of thing, and you'd get grown men sort of shouting out racist abuse to young children, but I kind of understand it's from ignorance, through lack of knowledge, through lack of understanding, through a perception that you get from what you see from the media, or from different kind of ways that society has kind of molded us to think certain ways or to have certain beliefs. But yes, that's my life story up until 11. I shall carry on with another one at a later date.